Did you know they have poker in Canada also?
That is not true.
I can't believe it. They have poker and the internet in Canada, so many of you probably are Canadian. I'm sorry for saying that about Canada. I love Canada. Canada's great.
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where we are. We're in Montreal for WPT, and we are heads up, and these players are deep. Patrick and Emma. Emma is the effective stack with about 75 big blinds, and let me tell you, a lot of blinds are going in this hand.
For sure. Now, just to give you a sense of it, while they've locked up a bit over $400,000 each, they're still playing for almost $250,000 US. There's a lot to win here. There's a lot on the line, as well as, of course, a WPT title.
Which is the greatest glory of all.
I mean, it's pretty good.
Anyway, this hand does get very interesting, which is why it was suggested by Ronnie on Twitter. If you have a suggestion, tweet at us, include a YouTube link.
Absolutely do that. Now, before we get to the hand, we have to thank the people at Nitrogen.
That's right, Nitrogen Sports Poker Room, where we have our monthly tournament. Well, sure. The tournament is incredible. It's guaranteed 1,000 buy-ins. We've only ever gotten as many as 80. You gotta get in there, but you have to use the link in the description of this video, or else you don't even get to see the tournament, and you are a fool.
And if you can't see the tournament, you can't do the cool Nitrogen dance, which is like that.
I don't think you
only get to do if you use the link in the description.
I don't think you're making people want to use the link right now.
They want it more than ever.
Let's get to the hand.
And this will blast her right into seven-figure territory for her career. Great milestone for any tournament poker player. How early did you get that in your career, Jonathan?
First year I played, I lost pretty much everything I touched. Then the second year I had an early score for like 320K, but then I had $1 million score shortly after.
There you go. So it's second
2 years of live poker. But the first 3 years, I played literally every day of my life on party poker.
Wow.
Every single day. I took
Full
no
circle.
off days.
Interesting spot here for Emma. She does have quite a strong heads-up hand, but not one you're necessarily crazy about. You know, facing a 3-bet. Certainly an argument to continue here.
So this is a spot where if we were playing normal poker, where she raised the cutoff and let's say button 3-bet, you would definitely be folding the king-9. But heads up, you just have to play more hands. And right here, you have to ask, do we have 33% equity? You do, right? A lot of the time. And we're also in position.
Oh, and she is 4-betting here.
So she's using it as a bluff, which I think is also viable. I would be tempted to 4-bet slightly weaker hands, like maybe king-8, king-7. But, you know, king-8 to king-9 certainly a fine way to do it.
Well, if she doesn't want to call the king-9, it's effectively the same thing as the king-8, isn't it?
Right. If you're whatever the bottom of your folding range, or the bottom of your calling range / top of your folding range, those are all pretty good hands to use as a bluff. Now, should Patrick stick around?
I mean, I think there's a chance he would shove, to be honest.
He has to put in 2.2 to win what is going to be $8 million.
I don't think he's going to want to call, but...
Pot odds are a fun thing, heads up.
I could see him shoving, to be honest.
I think shoving would be a little bit maniacal. But hey, nothing wrong with being a little bit of a maniac.
He does call. Nice. What do I know?
I mean, really. Again, you always have to look at what am I being offered. Am I going to realize 27% equity with 7-5 suited out of position? I mean, it's tough, but you probably are. There are no payout implications anymore. They're just straight up playing a heads-up match for 300,000 Canadian dollars. So if it's plus EV, it's plus EV, and it probably just is.
Wow.
This is the problem with calling the 7-5 suited, is that inevitably you make some junky pair, and it's pretty good. Notice here, Emma actually has a boatload of equity with just a 9 of spades. The other card doesn't even matter, really.
More than a boatload. She's a favorite, even though...
Right.
Serta is technically ahead right now with the 7.
Sorry, check.
And she's going to check back here. Doesn't want to have to bet fold this flop, flopping all this equity.
Heads up, check him out.
So interesting turn. If Emma bets the turn as a bluff, she probably needs to bet the river, I would presume. It's always a tense spot because you know the pot's already huge. Lots of money could go in the pot. Emma has to be careful because if she makes
Bet of 3 million.
a huge bet, it may result in Patrick only calling when Emma is just crushed. But at the same time, you want him to fold pretty much anything, right? And I mean, Patrick is in a miserable spot. And you know, when you do call that pre-flop 4-bet, you realize you are going to under-realize your equity, meaning that pre-flop you had 38%.
Oh my God.
Fair calls.
He decides to stick around. He can only beat stone bluffs.
Lot to talk about already here. I mean, this is serious stuff because we started super deep. We started about 75 blinds deep effective heads up for over 200,000 US, 300,000 Canadian. It's a pretty big deal. And Emma starts off by 4-betting to a pretty small amount, and then Patrick calls with the 5-7 suited after 3-betting. We think there's a couple things here that could have changed. We think Emma could have made a little bit of a bigger 4-bet. I mean, she wants a little bit more fold equity with a hand like this. We think Patrick doesn't have an ideal hand to call the 4-bet with when the stack to pot ratio is such.
Yeah, I really think they both made small mistakes here, not big mistakes. I agree. She's got to make it a little bit more, not price him in with certain hands. This hand's supposed to fold anyway, based on, as Grant's saying, the stack to pot is going to be small already. 5-7 means we can flop a pair and just be dead a lot, but feel obligated to put more chips in. We just have so many better hands we're going to have here when we 3-bet. I just don't know why he's really calling out of position, especially with 5-7 suited.
Right, but we get there, we get to the flop.
Yeah.
He flops a 7 and Emma flops a straight flush draw, which sounds a lot better than it is, honestly, because she kind of has two choices here. The choice that she took, which is to check, which is deceptive and shows that she has a little bit of moves in her, even though she's pretty bluffy, according to Jonathan Little. Also, she has the idea of maybe betting big, I would think is her idea, but betting small I don't think would work very well here.
Yeah, if you bet small, you could get shoved on and actually have to fold because your draw isn't premium enough. But betting big, I think, is kind of great when the pot is already this freaking big. There's 8 million chips in the pot. I think you could legitimately move in here or effectively move in, betting like 80, 90% of the pot, even full pot, basically saying, draw if you want to draw, do whatever you want, but I'm committed to this pot.
But checking makes it much more interesting for us as the viewer.
Yes.
And we get to the turn, which is kind of such a standard turn. You just expect the turn, right? It's the offsuit ace, and Emma is obligated to bet here.
Yes.
There's pretty much no move but to bet on this ace because she has a bunch of aces in her range. Patrick has some, but not as many as her, and he checks to her. Easy bet, right?
Absolutely easy bet. There's no reason not to bet here. She would probably play ace king and ace queen without a spade anyway, just like this, maybe even ace jack. I think this is good.
Right. Now, it is a very small bet. It's 3 million into 8 million, giving Patrick a pretty good price here. So that's nice for Patrick, but his hand could be drawing dead if she's slow playing a flush or something like that.
I mean, I think this is a really questionable call for a bunch of reasons. One is we can be losing a lot here. Like we're losing to all the big aces, like we just said, which really would 4-bet pre, almost certainly. We, of course, are losing the slow play things too, where we're either drawing dead or drawing really thin, but we're also setting up a situation where it's going to be really hard to play the river if we call here. There's going to be so much in the pot, and she's going to have less than a pot back. She's often going to shove on us. Are we just going to basically put the whole tournament on the line right now, because it's effectively what we're doing with just a 7? Is that the plan? I don't love it as a plan.
I think it's an okay plan. I disagree a little bit. I think that she is obligated to bet the ace, and I think Patrick is aware of that.
Yes.
And a 7 is ahead of a decent portion of her range if she is as bluffy as Jonathan Little is alluding to, and Jonathan Little played this tournament, played with her, so he knows a little something. Patrick probably knows a little something too. This is probably a player-dependent call, knowing that there's enough of the range that the 7 is ahead of that this is still okay.
I mean, I hope that's true. It seems to be true. I mean, she is bluffing, so that's pretty good. I mean, she may have a lot more aces, though, than just the big aces. What if she has, like, small suited aces and things like that? She's probably betting those as well, especially on the wet nature of this board.
Well, then we're only going to lose 3 million because she's never shoving the river with those
That's
hands.
a good point. That's true.
Oh my goodness.
Brick City on the river. Does Emma go for it? This could be over right here if Emma goes for it and Patrick decides to be a hero. And I'll tell you, Patrick has hero called Emma once already, and he hero called me yesterday in a huge pot as well. So he is a hero caller, if I've ever seen one. And I mean, we also know Emma loves to bluff. And she has an ideal bluffing hand. I mean, it seems rather insane that this would somehow be an all-in pot, but it really could be. Will she go for it? does this king high have any showdown value at all? And I think the answer is it's close. Griffin, what's going to happen? I'm so nervous.
It's hard because she's trying to figure out what hands he has that would call the turn and maybe fold river. What kind of 10? Yeah.
She does it.
I love it. Oh, I love it so much.
Now, Patrick, the master hero caller. Think there's any world where he finds this call?
I don't know.
Remember, this was a 4-bet pre-flop hand, right?
10 seconds.
Emma raised, Patrick 3-bet, Emma 4-bet.
Oh my God, he's gonna think about it.
I've only seen Patrick use time bank chips a few times, and every time he made the call. He's chatting her up a little bit. He's talking himself into it. Oh, this would be a heck of a call. Could you imagine calling for 300,000 Canadian dollars, the difference between first and second here, with
psycho.
pretty much the nut low?
10 seconds. Time used.
Oh my God.
He did it!
Oh my God.
Wow. Just like that. Pair of sevens.
Well, that is a way to win a tournament for $650,000. I can't imagine the elation Patrick would feel. Just winning the tournament alone, on a cooler, would feel amazing.
Yeah.
But winning on a hero call like this, he must still be flying through the sky in Canada.
In Canada specifically, you're not allowed to fly anywhere else.
No.
Although this did take place, of course, in Montreal. No,
Yeah,
this is
no
an
kidding.
extraordinary way to win, for sure. And you can sort of say, my poker did it for me, instead of like the cards, just worked out for me or something like that. Like, you won this tournament, man. Nice job.
Yeah, now should he have won this tournament? Nice job.
That's a question.
That's a question. Jonathan thinks less so than I do that
Yeah.
he should have won this tournament. Give him your reasons.
Well, sort of what we were saying on the turn, right? We now put ourselves in a spot where the entire tournament is on the line, and we have one of the worst hands we can really show up with here. When we call the turn, and now here we are on the river, especially after calling a 4-bet pre-flop. Like, this is about as bad as it gets. This has got to be the bottom of our range, doesn't it? Why are we calling here?
I'll give you some reasons.
Great.
Okay. So we said that if Emma had a small ace, she would not be shoving the river, right?
I
So
agree with that.
We can eliminate a lot of the aces, including ace-8 and ace-9 from our
Yes.
range. It's ace-jack at a minimum, and probably not even ace-jack. That's real questionable about getting called by a worse hand, although, as we see, Patrick calls with a 7, but we wouldn't necessarily know that as Emma. Probably.
Right.
Now, if we assume Emma is as bluffy as Jonathan Little is saying, we can give her definitely all of the ace-queen and ace-king combos, probably as like the bottom of her value range, right?
Sure.
And maybe not any of those with a spade in them, because she probably bets those on the flop, you would think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we eliminate some of those combos as well. She's obligated to continue with queen jack, and king queen on the turn on this ace, right?
Yes.
For sure. We can eliminate the ones with the spade in those as well, but that still brings us a lot of combos. And at this point, we're not playing an ICM game. There's no ICM left. It's pure chip EV.
Yeah.
And if she actually has all of those combos, plus the ace, king, ace, queens, and then a couple of like ace-6, ace-7 type hands, which make a lot of sense as played, we're still getting definitely the right chip EV odds to call here.
That's assuming, though, that she's actually going to bet the turn and then move it on the river with all of the king highs and queen highs that don't have a spade in them. I don't know if she's actually doing that or not, but we do know she is moving in with all the ace queens, ace kings, ace sixes, etc., like aces up hands that don't have a spade in them.
I agree as Patrick before she turns her cards over that is correct, but if Patrick has seen her play a lot, he might assume that she definitely has those and some other hands, because as we see, she has king-9 with a 9 of spades as part of her bluffing range.
Yeah.
And if we knew that, we would call way quicker.
That is a really fair point. And here's another thing which sort of bolsters your side of it a little bit. It's possible Patrick has played enough with her to know that, and this is true for a lot of players, that while she's very bluffy, she also may be really conservative with some of her value bets, especially on scarier boards. This is a pretty scary board, and maybe he thinks even ace-jack is sort of an automatic check back for her. Maybe he thinks ace-queen is not an automatic value bet for
Right.
her.
I don't think it is for most players.
If he isn't sure that those are value bets, now we clearly have to call as Patrick.
Right. So I think it really depends on the player. This is one where we can't really go into theory land without knowing entirely the player profile. We assume Patrick knows something about the player profile to make
Yes.
this call. And as we can see, she shows up with one of the bluffs that we didn't even mention as a theoretical possibility, which means this is probably correct in my mind.
It's a great point for sure that like this wasn't even in the range
Yeah.
and it's there. So there's probably a lot of other things too. I still am really amazed she didn't bet the flop with
Yeah.
this hand. Like bet big, win the pot.
So have
Let's
I
go.
convinced you? Did he play it well?
I'm not 100% sure. I think every time she turns over ace king here, we're just like, what did you do, Patrick? You
I
didn't
know.
have to do this bottom of the range, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say it sounds like there are more, player dependent wise anyway, it seems like she's got a lot more bluffs than we would expect, and that makes this a much more reasonable call
Right,
for sure.
and it's easy to look at the result and say, yeah, she has a lot more bluffs. It's possible she doesn't have any of those bluffs. It's possible if she did have ace-king here, we would say, okay, I get it combinatorially with chip EV, you're supposed to call, but in practice, is anybody actually bluffing here?
Right.
That's what we would be saying.
Right.
But as we can see, in practice, Emma is bluffing here.
Right.
Maybe Patrick knows that. I'm
Maybe
going to
he
give
does.
him credit.
Fair enough. I mean, he just won the event on an incredible call. It seems fair to give him some credit here. Ooh, this is a spot where Grant and I disagreed a bit. Yay!
But I think I convinced him, though.
Sort of. What do you guys think, though? Are you convinced? Do you think this is a good call? I understand that she was bluffing here, but do you think this actually is a good call? Actually, on all the different places, pre-flop, on the turn, and on the river. Do you like these decisions by Patrick? We want to know in the comments, so please write them there. Of course, we also think Emma could have played this a little bit differently, too. We think she probably should have 4-bet a little bit bigger. We think she probably should have bet the flop. What do you think? Do you agree with us there? We want to hear everything. Let us know in the comments. We look forward to seeing what you have to say.
If you want to hear more disagreements about more streets of this hand, there's like 7 streets that we didn't talk about, obviously.
Absolutely.
You got to check out our podcast, The Breakdown, presented by the Poker Guys. It's available anywhere you get podcasts, and it's the best podcast in the world.
It is maybe the best podcast in the world.
It's
so,
number 2 at least.
I mean, top 2. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.